Hey guys, welcome to another Tracy Talks. So this week's video on leading by influence is actually inspired by one of the plans in the YouVersion Bible app called Exploring Your Gifts. If you guys don't have that app, I highly recommend that you download it. It's really great. And on this particular day, it was focusing on Esther, who is a woman in the Bible who married a king called Xerxes, and because of that she became queen. And in Esther chapter 4 it talks about Mordecai, who was Esther's cousin, and he had taken care of Esther when she was younger. But basically he comes to her and he says, you know what, I'm really concerned because one of the king's officials called Haman is plotting to kill all the Jewish people because he just doesn't like them. And Esther and Mordecai were both Jewish people, and Mordecai kind of calls Esther to be courageous by telling her, you know what, if you keep quiet, heaven will come down and it will save the Jews, but you will die and your father's family will come to an end. So maybe you were called to be queen for such a time as this. And so Esther, being the woman of God that she was like, you know what, tell all the Jewish people to start fasting for 3 days, and me and my friends will also fast for 3 days. And the part of the plan that I really love is when it starts to talk about how there is two types of leadership. There is positional authority, where you lead based on the fact that because you have power and authority, you can just give instructions and people will listen. And then there's influential leadership, which is what Esther fell under, because even though at the time she had title as queen, she couldn't really pass any laws, she couldn't give any instructions. That was all down to the king. Esther influenced by courage, because she said, you know what, I'm going to go and talk to the king, even if it's against the law and even if it means that I might have to die because of this. Because at the time, nobody was really allowed to go and talk to the king face to face. You had to go through a whole procedure where you ask for permission, and most of the time people simply communicated by like a middleman. And it kind of made me think about, well, how is leadership through influence happening in the modern day? Whether you are a manager, whether you are a student, whether you are a cleaner, it's not about the position that you hold that necessarily makes you able to bring about change. It's about the way that you carry yourself, the way you play your role, the way you do what you do and say what you say. That is also able to influence people. Even as a manager, yes, you might hold some positional authority, but don't underestimate the power of being able to lead by influencing, because you know what? A lot of the way your work turns out is based on how you carry yourself. If you are a lazy manager, then your work and your workers are gonna look lazy. As a student, you know, I might not hold a position of authority, but I can still influence people and change people simply by the way that I carry myself and the way that I conduct myself, because it'll make people question, well, why is Tracy so different? Why does she act the way she does? Why is it when she does something, she puts effort into it? And then in that sense, people are gonna say, you know what, I like what she's doing, I like what she's all about, I'm going to adopt some of these positive characteristics. And I wanted to point to 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 12, where it says, let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. I often think this is why the whole saying that parents normally have, where do as I say, not as I do, kind of confuses children, because a lot of the way we act is what influences other people. At the end of the day, actions do speak louder than words, because actions most of the time tend to be more of a true reflection of us rather than what we say. There is not enough positions in this world for all of us to have authority, but there will always be space for people to be influential. So think about, how do you conduct yourself? What are the things you say and how are they changing people? You know, leadership is not just about being able to give instructions. And remember that even in the case of Esther, even though she was in a position where you think she has authority, she doesn't necessarily have it. So don't wait until you feel like you are more powerful for you to change the way the world works. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.